Did you know you're being watched? Not by them, but what about this guy? Pigeons are everywhere, especially in cities like Sheffield. We see them every day, fading into the background of our lives. But pigeons are far smarter than we give them credit for. They can memorize hundreds of patterns for years, recognize humans, and understand abstract concepts like time and space. As cities grow, pigeons are interacting with people much more often, but their story with humans goes back a long way. They were once domesticated birds, used as our messengers during the war. Today, they're feral, surviving on our leftovers. Because of our shared history, we've become a major part of their survival, and some pigeons have even learned how to recognize the people that feed them. This reliance on us as a food source reduces costly foraging time and actually improves their productivity. But how do they recognize us? Pigeons use cues like your hair, your voice, face, and even your smell, and they combine these signals to help figure out who's who. Their brains are constantly sorting what they see, helping them to figure out what's costly or what's rewarding. Previous research has shown that pigeons can recognize individual humans, but what we don't understand is how temporary changes, like your clothes, can impact this recognition ability. One of the first things we do when we wake up is choose what we're going to wear for the day. We often stick to our own uniform, whether that's bright colours or a black hoodie. But have you thought about how this seemingly unimportant choice may have a bigger effect than you think? Does what you wear make you more recognisable? To find out more about what drives this recognition, I spoke to Jake, who feeds the pigeons regularly in Weston Park. So, when did you first start interacting with the pigeons, or where your interests first started?
I've been here about 2.5 years at this point. It started with this flock at Weston Park.
Do you think they recognise you when you come here?
100%. I don't know how much of it is to do with on the kind of clothing side of it. There's probably something in it, because generally, this is the outfit I will wear if I'm out working with pigeons in some capacity.
Right.
As long as they're comfortable with humans, they will seek out proximity to humans.
Right.
Proximity means food, food means survival, ultimately.
So now we've heard from Jake, let's take a look at the science. We conducted a study in Weston Park, where we aimed to explore how the number of clothing cues influenced the pigeons' recognition of feeders. For our method, we had a feeder and a non-feeder, who were all black to act as a control. The feeder wore 3 different cue conditions of varied complexity, adding a new clothing item each day. 10 trials were repeated throughout the day to study the pigeons' learning rate. We hypothesized that adding a greater number of cues would lead to an increase in preference and recognition of a feeder, while also increasing their learning rate. We observed that pigeons learned fastest under the first cue condition, while the second cue condition attracted the largest number of pigeons by the final trial. To discuss our results further, I spoke to Ben Hatchwell, a professor of evolutionary ecology specialising on social evolution in birds. We found that having more cues generated more interest from the pigeons at first, but it didn't seem to enhance their ability to recognise us over subsequent trials. Why do you think this is?
Potential explanation is that you did them in sequence, from simple cue, more complex cue, to most complex cue.
Yeah.
And it could be that over successive days, the pigeons became more attuned to your presence in the field and the fact that you were going to provide food for them.
Do you think there might have been an optimal cue complexity level to help with recognition?
In general, in nature, what we tend to see is that animals use rather simple rules to make decisions. So simple cues are often preferred over really complex cues.
So do you think Q3, the one with the tutu, was too complex?
From a pigeon's perspective, they're coming across all sorts of different cues all the time. So I must say I was a bit surprised that you did find a difference, but there does appear to be a difference there. And so it may be that the tutu does trigger some kind of alarm.
Are there any ecological or behavioural confounding factors that you might worry about for this kind of experiment?
There could be other sources of food which you can't control for in those kinds of environment. The other issue is of satiation. So obviously the more you feed the pigeons, the less hungry they become. But in general, pigeons are remarkably successful. Any city you go to, pretty much across the world, you will find urban pigeons.
So how could our study inform further investigations? We need to explore and understand how our subconscious decisions may be impacting the natural behaviour of the wildlife that live among us. Future research should focus on longer-term studies to determine if the memory of cues is retained over time. Pigeons aren't just background noise of the city. They're watching, learning, and adapting to us every day. Our study shows that what we wear can shape how wildlife recognises and responds to us. As cities grow and our interactions increase, understanding these little connections matter, because whether we notice them or not, we're part of their world too. So now you know you're being watched. Will you think more carefully about what you choose to wear? Because I didn't.